Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I have an exciting video. Let me just say how exciting it is to find a dupe to any product really, especially when the products are a little more high priced, right? Today I have for you some dupes from Alter Ego for the Natasha Denona palettes, or some of them. If you're interested in some good Natasha Denona dupes from Alter Ego, keep watching. I bought 3 palettes from Alter Ego that are supposed to be Natasha Denona dupes. So first one is the Alter Ego Artemis palette. This one is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This one is the Artemis palette swatched. This one has 28 shades in here. All the shades pretty much, except for a couple on the top, are very pigmented. The only thing missing in this palette compared to the Natasha Denona one is this one does not have a black shade, which I believe the Natasha Denona palette does. Next up is the Alter Ego Goddess palette. This one is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is the Alter Ego Goddess palette swatched. These swatched beautifully. They're very creamy. I'm not sure if I would say this formula is exactly like the Natasha Denona one. I do think that the Natasha Denona formula is better, but for a fraction of the price, I do think that these swatched very nicely. They're very pigmented and they are very creamy. Next up is the Alter Ego Sahara palette, and this one is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Biba palette. This is the Sahara palette, and this one also swatched beautifully. I am actually going to compare some of these shades to the Bronze palette by Natasha Denona. I do own that one, and a lot of these shades kind of remind me of that palette. So I put a couple of Natasha Denona shades from the Bronze palette on the bottom there. There's not exactly shades that are completely similar. The pigment of the Natasha Denona palettes are not the same as the Alter Ego palettes. This may be a good dupe color story wise, and it may actually perform very similarly to the Natasha Denona ones. However, the actual pigment of the shadows is still really good in the Natasha Denona ones, and I don't think that the Alter Ego palettes completely mimicked that. Before we start to use these eyeshadow palettes to create a look, I just wanted to show you a size comparison. The palettes here are supposed to mimic the large pan size for the Natasha Denona. However, I would say they're pretty comparable with the mid-size palettes, if not a little bit smaller. Even though these are dupes, they're not the same size as the Natasha Denona large pan palettes. However, for a fraction of the price, I think we're gonna play around with 2 of these palettes, just because I want to try out as many of these palettes as we can in this video. So on one eye, I'm going to use the Alter Ego Sahara palette, and on the other eye, I'm going to use the Goddess palette. I'm wondering if I should try to create similar looks so it doesn't look all that different, because I am going to be wearing this eyeshadow for the rest of the day. But I want to see how both of them perform. All right, so first up, we're going to go into the Sahara palette, and we are going to take the shade Camel, and we're going to work that into our crease. Okay, let's just go in here. We're gonna go for a very neutral look today, just because I think a lot of what these 2 palettes have in common is they have a lot of bronzy brown shimmers, you know. So we're just going to do a very neutral look. That way my eyes won't look all that different. So this eye here, I'm going to dip into the Sahara palette. I don't know if it necessarily blends as easily as Natasha Denona palettes do, but it does blend. I think that's what I love about her formula is I am not a professional makeup artist by any means, not even close, and I just like how easy her palettes are for everyone to use. So that is why I specifically enjoy them, just because I find it's pretty easy for me. Okay, we're going to go into the Goddess palette now. Let's see, a shade kind of similar. We're going to go into shade Juno there, which is very similar to the camel shade on the Sahara palette. Oh wow. Okay, this shade is darker. Either that or I just put on way too much of it. Oh wait, hold on. Here we go. Yeah, that is buffing out quite nicely. I think I'm going to go into a little bit more of the camel shade on this eye. So far we have Sahara palette on this side and Goddess palette on this side. Next we're going to take a darker shade to be our outer corner crease shade. So I think we're going to go in, I see ones that are very, very similar. Okay, on the Sahara palette we're going to go in with the shade, oh there it is. We're going to go in with the shade Raven. We're going to push that into the outer corner here. Now I'm going to go into the Goddess palette. It doesn't have to be perfect quite yet because we're going to be doing a lot of blending as we add shimmers. And we're going to go into shade Avalon. And this one does look a little bit deeper and a little bit cooler tone to the Raven one. So hopefully this looks similar. So we're going to go into that same brush and we're just going to work it into the outer corner. Okay, this one does look more pigmented. I do think that the shadows are more pigmented in the Goddess palette than in the Sahara palette. I don't know why it is. They both swatched pretty similarly. So in the Sahara palette, we're going to go into shade Mirage right there. And we're going to work this all over our lid pretty much. Maybe we're not going to focus too much on the outer corner there, so we're going to hit this pretty much in the middle, most of our lid, if that makes any sense. So we're just going to work this with our finger. I just prefer to apply shadow or shimmer shades with my finger. This one does seem a little bit like it's shearing out quite a bit, so you might want to just really, really pat that in instead of pull. We're gonna take a shadow brush here and we're gonna put some setting spray onto it because I just want to really pat that in a little bit. So we're gonna go into shade Mirage again with the brush. Let's see how this adds on, because I just want to really make sure it shapes my eye. I'd say it applies pretty good with the brush too, actually. I would say the glitter is a little bit chunky, where Natasha Denona's glitters are not this chunky. I'm going to use shade Pandora in the Goddess palette. And we are going to pat that all onto our lid. I think it just looks better with the fingers, so I'm just gonna apply them with my fingers because it's easier. This is where we're really gonna see a difference. This shade is more of a goldy hue to it. This one is more of a silver. If you want more of a silvery look, Sahara palette. If you want more of a gold look, Goddess palette. We're gonna just take back our crease brush and we're just going to buff out our crease a little bit. We're not gonna pick up any more pigment. We're just gonna use what we've already got there, and then the crease brush for the other side too. So now we're gonna go in with a darker color. So I really want in the Sahara palette to dip into the shade Bronze there. We're gonna put that on the outer edge of our eye. So we're gonna take that on our finger just because it's easier. And we're just going to brush that in there. We're gonna take our all over brush and we're just going to, maybe we'll pick up more of the Mirage shade actually, and we're just going to brush that from lightest to darkest, just in the middle to blend out that transition. Now we're going to go into, I think for this side, we're going to mix two shades. We're gonna mix shade Aura right there and shade Lissa up there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dab some of the Aura shade and then some of the Lissa shade on my finger, and it's gonna kind of blend them together. And now I'm gonna apply it to my eye. Now we're gonna get that all over brush again, dip it into the shade Pandora like we used before, and we're just going to diffuse the middle line there. Okay. Yeah, they definitely look different. Again, this side's more gold, this side's more brown. Just depends on your preference. Okay, so now we're gonna try an inner corner shade. So I'm gonna take my favorite brush for that. And on the Sahara side, we're gonna dip into shade Jewel into our inner corner. This is gonna differ too because the two shades on each palette for inner corner are different. So we're gonna do shade Jewel, and we're just going to brush that into our inner corner there. And we're gonna take some of it underneath the brow bone too. And then we're gonna wipe off that brush because we gotta use it on the other side. And then on the Goddess palette, we're gonna go into shade Freya. Right there. And this one is definitely more like stark white with kind of like a hint of gold yellow. So this is gonna look very different too. So we're gonna go into this here. They actually don't look that different. Again, this one has more of a gold, this has more of a silver, but they are pretty similar. Now I think I want to take a little bit on my lower lash line. So we're gonna take our all over brush, give it a little wipe, I guess. And I'm gonna go into shade Camel, the one that we used in our crease. I'm gonna go into shade Camel on the Sahara palette, and we're just going to work that a little bit underneath. Just a tiny bit. I'm gonna take that just on half of my lower lash line. We're gonna take our all over lid brush on the other side, and we're gonna dip it back into shade Juno on the Goddess palette. I think that is the final look. I use the Sahara palette on this side and the Goddess palette on this side. And I think that it blended quite nicely. This side's definitely more silver, this side's more gold. Just depends on your preference. My personal favorite, which is shocking because I thought I would be all over the Goddess palette, because I do love the color stories, I really like the Sahara palette. I think that the neutrals and the silvers and the browns in here are so pretty, and they really do create such a gorgeous look. The pigment in these eyeshadows are not the same as the Natasha Denona formula. I don't know if anyone could really create her true signature formula. However, I do think that they come very close and they are a very good dupe. And if you do like the color stories, why not check them out for a fraction of the price? The Alter Ego Goddess palette and the Sahara palette both retail for $16 US on the Alter Ego website. And the Alter Ego Artemis palette, since it is a bigger palette, that one retails for $22 USD. The Natasha Denona palettes, all three of them retail for $129 US or $170 Canadian. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment down below either what is your favorite Natasha Denona palette, what is your favorite Alter Ego palette, or if you were to buy one of those palettes, what color story do you like? Which one would you choose? Leave me that in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing all of you in my next video. Bye.